Welcome to Books Made Fun, where we learn English in creative ways with the help of stories. So here's what we've got lined up today. First, we'll get right into the story itself in 3 parts. Then, we're going to do a deep dive into all the great vocabulary and idioms we find along the way. And finally, it'll be your turn to practice what you've learned. Sounds good? Let's begin the learning, my learners. All right, let's dive right into our story. We begin in what seems like a perfect, peaceful forest, but there's a serious danger lurking nearby for a family of crows. Okay, so picture this. In a forest with what's called dense foliage. That just means it was full of very thick leaves. Or in Hindi, bahut ghane patte. 2 crows were living a harmonious life. Everything was peaceful, you know? It was shantiporn. And because of that, they were always vigilant, always watchful and alert, or satark. But there was a big problem. Living right below their nest was a notorious, or famous for bad reasons, badnaam, and malevolent snake. And malevolent means it was truly evil. It wanted to cause harm. Basically, it was dushta.
And here's the heartbreaking part. Every single time the crows had eggs, this snake would come and eat them. Can you imagine? This left them devastated, which is a really strong word for completely heartbroken or puri tarah se dukhi. And they felt totally helpless, like there was nothing they could do about it. In Hindi, asahai. Just a terrible, terrible situation.
Finally, the female crow just couldn't take it anymore. She said, "We cannot just sit here twiddling our thumbs while that snake destroys our family." Now, twiddling our thumbs is such a great idiom. It just means doing absolutely nothing, or as you might say, khali baitna. She knew it was time to take action. And you know what? Act they did. This brings us to the next chapter of our story, where the crows realize they need a really clever plan to solve their problem. So the male crow decided it was time to put on his thinking cap. That's a wonderful way to say he needed to think very deeply and seriously, or gehrai se sochna. His whole goal was to come up with a plan, to create a solution, yojna banana. But he knew he couldn't do it by himself. So he decided to seek advice, which means to ask for help, or salah lena, from his very wise friend the jackal, about their awful predicament, which is another word for a very difficult situation, a katin paristhiti. The jackal listened to the whole sad story and gave this famous piece of advice. He said, "If you want to defeat the snake, you must fight fire with fire." And this is a powerful idiom. It means you have to use the same tricky and maybe even aggressive methods that your enemy is using against you. In Hindi, it's like saying, "Usi tarike se jawab dena." So the jackal laid out a truly strategic plan, meaning it was super carefully planned, or rannitik. And what was the plan? Get this. Steal the queen's precious necklace. Precious just means very valuable, or kimti. Now, as you can imagine, the crows were taken aback when they heard this. That's a great phrase for being totally surprised or shocked, achanak chankjana. But after a moment, they started to see just how brilliant this crazy idea was. Okay, here we go. This is the most exciting part. It's time to see the plan in action and watch as the whole situation gets flipped on its head. So, just like the jackal said, the crow swooped in, grabbed the necklace, and flew away. But here's the clever part. He didn't fly fast. He flew slowly, making sure the queen's guards could follow him. He was going to lead them straight to the snake's hole, which means to guide them directly to that spot, or kisi ko seedhe kahin le jana. The guards chased the crow right to the tree and saw him drop the necklace into the snake's hole. And when they went to get it back, out came the angry snake. Well, the guards were shocked to the core. This idiom means they were incredibly, extremely shocked. Bahut zyada chonk jana. They didn't even think. They just killed the snake right then and there to get the necklace back safely.
And just like that, the crow's problem was solved. They were on cloud 9, which is a fantastic idiom for being incredibly happy, just overjoyed, or bahut khush hona. The male crow looked at his partner and said, "Sometimes intelligence can turn the tables even against a powerful enemy." And turn the tables means to completely reverse a situation from a bad one to a good one. Or in Hindi, paristhiti ko apne paksh mein badal dena. What a brilliant moral.
What a fantastic story, right? So much cleverness. But now, let's do what we're really here for. Let's dig deep into all that amazing vocabulary we just heard and make sure we really understand it.
All right, let's get started. First up, the word dense. It's an adjective, and it simply means thick or crowded. For example, the forest was dense with trees. The noun form is density. You might hear, we measured the density of the population. Next, we have foliage. This one is a noun, and it's a lovely word for all the leaves on a plant or tree. For example, the autumn foliage was beautiful. Then there's harmonious, which is an adjective that means peaceful and getting along well, like they have a harmonious relationship. The noun form is harmony. The choir sang in perfect harmony. And you can use it as an adverb, harmoniously. The team worked harmoniously together. Finally in this group, vigilant. It's an adjective for being very watchful and careful. The noun is vigilance. Vigilance is required to prevent accidents. And the adverb is vigilantly. The guard watched vigilantly all night. Let's keep going. We heard the word notorious. That's an adjective for being famous, but for a bad reason. For instance, he was a notorious liar. The noun form is notoriety, like in, he gained notoriety for his scams. Then we had that powerful adjective, malevolent, which means having a desire to do evil to others. An example is, the villain had a malevolent smile. The noun is malevolence. His heart was full of malevolence. Next is helpless, an adjective describing someone who is unable to defend themselves. For example, the kitten felt helpless without its mother. The noun is helplessness. A feeling of helplessness washed over him. And the adverb is helplessly. She watched helplessly as her balloon flew away. And finally, precious, which is an adjective for something very valuable or loved. For example, her memories are precious to her. The noun form is preciousness. We must understand the preciousness of time. And for our last set of words, devastate. This is a really strong verb that means to destroy or cause someone to feel extreme shock and grief. The verb forms are devastate, devastated, devastated. For example, the bad news will devastate her. You can also use it as an adjective, devastating. The storm had a devastating effect. And the noun is devastation. The scene was one of total devastation. Next up, predicament. This is a noun that means a difficult or unpleasant situation. A great example is, I'm in a terrible predicament and don't know what to do. And our last word is strategic. It's an adjective that means carefully planned to achieve a specific goal. For example, they made a strategic move in the chess game. The noun is strategy. We need a new strategy to succeed. And the adverb is strategically. The general placed his troops strategically. Okay, we've mastered the advanced words. Now for something I find really fun, the idioms. These are the expressions that add so much life and color to the English language. Let's go over the ones we heard in our story. First up, remember when the female crow was fed up? She didn't want to just twiddle one's thumbs, which means to do nothing or be idle. Then the male crow had to put on his thinking cap, which is a fun way to say he needed to think very hard about a problem. And his goal was to come up with a plan, which means to create or invent a new idea or solution. These three really got the whole plot moving. Next, the crow decided to seek advice, which is a very common way to say you're asking for guidance from someone, and the advice he got was to fight fire with fire, to use the same tactics as your opponent. And when the crows first heard this plan to steal a necklace, they were taken aback, which just means they were very surprised or shocked. And for our final batch of idioms, the ones that gave us that thrilling ending, the crow's plan was to lead someone straight to the snake's hole. When the guards saw the snake, they were shocked to the core, extremely shocked. And after their plan worked, the crows were on cloud 9, just completely and utterly happy. And of course, the big moral of the story. They managed to turn the tables, which means they reversed the situation completely to their own advantage. Phew, we have covered so much ground today. We went through the story, the vocabulary, and all those fantastic idioms. But you know, listening is only half the battle. Now comes the most important part. It's your turn to use what you've learned. So, here is your challenge. I want you to try and make one single sentence that uses one of the advanced words and one of the idioms from our lesson today. For example, you could write something like, she was on cloud 9 after her strategic plan worked perfectly. See, it's that easy. Don't be shy. Go ahead and share your sentence in the comment section below. I can't wait to read what you all come up with. And with that, our learning journey today comes to an end. So, what did you think? Did you find this story a helpful way to learn?
Please let us know in the comments. Your feedback is so precious to us, and it really helps us grow. If you enjoyed this, a quick like, share, and subscribe would mean the world to us and help us bring you more lessons. It really shows how sometimes a little intelligence can completely turn the tables, doesn't it? Thanks for learning with us on Books Made Fun today.